Hello, Miss Bell's class for March 2nd. These are notes, or I don't know what you call them. Notes, assignment, whatever. 4.2, being able to graph quadratic functions in standard form. And we have the steps. I'm going to have keep those up here for you. And we're going to walk through some of these. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to identify our A, B, and C. And the A is always going to be here. Let me put it in red. When we have things written in a quadratic equation, our A is going to be the number before the X. The B is going to be this part right here. This happens to be a negative, and my C is this plus 5 or a positive 5, okay? And right here, I have 1x squared, but there's no 1 there, but we just put down 1. Because there is 1x squared. We're not going to write 1. We just know there's 1, so that's why we don't use the number 1. That's why we don't write it here. But there is 1x squared. All right, I'm talking in circles. Here we go. So A is 1, B is -6, and C is 5. I'm just following these directions that were in your notes, okay? And I find the vertex by using this formula right here, okay? And I believe it is written for you on each of these. So I have -6 over 2, because 2 times 1 is 2, that 2a. 2 times 1 is 2. So it's 6 divided by 2, which is 3. I put that one in the center here because in the directions, we're going to get 2 points before it and 2 points after it. So 2 points below or before 3 are going to be 2 and 1. And 2 points above 3 are going to be 4 and 5. To finish this one out, what this means is my x value, the axis of symmetry, the x is going to be on 3. So what is the y value going to be? Well, you plug that in. So you just get your calculator and you plug it in. And the way that I'm going to plug it in is I'm going to put in parentheses my x value. So my x value here, I'm going to put in, what I say was 3. And I square it. And then I have -6 and in parentheses 3. I have my x value again. And then plus 5, right? I hit equals and it's -4. So it's -4. I didn't really need to do all that here. I could have just done it here on this chart. I didn't realize what the chart was for when I started this. So when x is 3, you work out the problem with the 3's in there, and you have -4. Now the reason why I showed it to you on your calculator is that, I'm just putting these in parentheses, you'll see why in a second, I want to show you how you could just go back so you don't have to do this whole problem all over again. Just go use the back button on any calculator and go back into the parentheses and let's do the 2. So we change this to a 2. And then go into these parentheses and change that to a 2. Okay, so now my x is 2. When x is 2, your y is -3. So when x is 2, your y is -3. Let's change it to a 1. I swear this is the last one I'll do this way because you probably already know this. 1. And then I go over here, just trying to save you some time and effort. 0. When x is 1, y is 0. And then I do the same thing. I plug in a 4. You notice that you get -3 and 5, 0. One thing you should be noticing when you do this is that it kind of mirrors, the y values kind of mirror effect off of this. So, if you have a -3 here, you're going to have a -3 here. If you're going to have a 0 here, you're going to have a 0 there. Whatever number, those numbers should match on either side. So then you have these coordinates when x is 1, y is 0, and so on, and you just use those coordinates to plot your points and make your graph. All right, going on to number 2. My A is -1, my B is -2, and my C is 3. So I take my -b, which is a -2. Well, the reason why I did parentheses is because when you start squaring things on your calculator, you have to have that x value in parentheses, and it's just easier to find the x value when you're doing it over and over again and changing the x value, just go in the parentheses and change that number only. So it's not so confusing when you're looking at your calculator. So once again, it will square, some of your calculators won't square -1 unless it's in parentheses. It will square the 1, but it won't square the negative part of it and change it back to a positive. So just so you know that. So I have my negative b, so -2 over 2 times -1. So this is the negative makes it positive. Over 2 times -1 is a -2. So 2 divided by -2 is -1. So my x value is -1. So I plug that in for x to see what my y value would be, and then I got the vertex. The vertex is the highest or the lowest point, remember? So this is the highest point. Remember, the vertex in number 1 was the lowest point. Okay, so that gives me that vertex, -1, 4. And then I go back, I go 2 before and 2 after. So 2 before -1 would be -2 and -3. 2 after would be 0 and 1. Plug in those problems and I get all these coordinates and I plot those points. And you could pause that and look at those. Just in case you missed this in class, you weren't here, or you're an onliner and needed some more help, whatever. Okay, my a in this one is -1 because it's a negative x squared, and I have a +2, so it's a +2 for b, and -1 for c, right? So now I got to go negative b, so it's a -2 because it's just a regular old 2. And then 2 times -1, so I have -2. So -2 over -2 is 1. So I plug in a 1 to figure out what my y value would be, and that would be 0. I go back and I change all my x values to 2 before 1 and 2 after 1. So I go from -1 all the way to 3, and you'll see that my x coordinates are as such. My x and y coordinates are as such. And I go ahead and plug those points in, and I can graph my solution. Number 4, I have a 1, a +8, and a +13. 1, 8, 13, my A, B's, and C's. Okay, I use this formula in order to get the axis of symmetry. -8 over 2 is what it ends up being, and that is going to be equal to -4. So I plug in a -4 to get my vertex. -4 in that formula in this problem right here ends up being -3. My y value ends up being -3, so it's -4, 3. That's my vertex. Okay. Then I go from there. I go 2 before and 2 after, right? Plug those numbers in. Boom. Got these coordinates, and I plot the points. Hopefully this helps, and good luck with what's to come.